There's someone in your life who's always the victim. Every story ends with them wronged, every conflict ends with them hurt. And somehow, despite all of that suffering, they always seem to get exactly what they want. We are living in a strange moment where victimhood has become our dominant social currency. It isn't just a temporary state of being anymore, it's a literal growth strategy. Look at your phone. You open TikTok or scroll through your feed, and the algorithm is practically begging you to perform your trauma. It creates this massive, invisible feedback loop where self-victimization is systematically incentivized. The more suffering you can document, the more engagement you receive. We've built an entire digital infrastructure that actually rewards people for staying broken. I'm not saying nobody has real pain. Obviously they do. But the platform doesn't distinguish. And because it doesn't distinguish, it systematically selects for the people who've learned to perform suffering best. If you look for advice on this, what you'll find is useless. Set boundaries, protect your energy. I've seen that advice plastered across 10,000 Instagram posts in a calming font, but zero understanding of what you're actually dealing with. So let me actually explain what you're dealing with. In one of the largest studies ever conducted on how people perceive victimhood, 17 experiments and 9,676 participants, researchers from Northwestern and the University of Toronto documented something they called the virtuous victim effect. What they found is that people automatically perceive victims as more morally virtuous than non-victims who behaved identically. Not because victims did anything more ethical, not because they're actually better people, but purely because someone appears to have wronged them. Victimhood on its own transfers moral status. This is the psychological exploit at the absolute center of the whole behavior. Now pair that with what researchers Ekin Oak and colleagues published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. Across 5 studies, they found that people with dark triad traits, narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, are significantly more likely to signal virtuous victimhood. And this held even after controlling for real demographic factors that might predict actual hardship. Meaning, it wasn't that these people had experienced more. They'd learned to use the signal more. What the research also found, and this is the part nobody talks about, is that the frequency of victim signaling directly predicts a person's willingness to lie, to exaggerate harm, and to engage in ethically questionable behavior to get what they want. The signal and the behavior are the same person. But the thing is, this isn't new. Epictetus, the former slave who became one of the most important Stoic philosophers, built his entire philosophy around a single distinction. He wrote, "The chief task in life is simply this, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals, not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control." His point was that your response is the only domain that's truly yours. Everything else, what others do, how circumstances fall, what happens to you, those aren't yours to begin with. And I want to be honest here, because this is the part that actually cost me something to admit. I've done this. Not in some calculated, premeditated way, but I've caught myself in the middle of a conflict, reaching for the version of the story where I came out looking more wronged, because it felt safer. And if I'm the one who was hurt, nobody can turn it back around on me. And once I noticed I was doing it, I couldn't stop noticing it everywhere. The move is genuinely seductive. It takes something uncomfortable, the real possibility that you're partially responsible for what happened, and trades it for something comfortable, certainty that you weren't. The problem is you pay for that certainty with your capacity to learn anything from the situation. You freeze your own growth in exchange for a moment of social protection. And every time you do it, the habit gets a little deeper. So what do you actually do with this? It's not a system or a program, but just a couple of things that helped me think more clearly about it. 1. Change the question you're asking. Instead of who was right in this situation, try asking, what does this person consistently get from this pattern? Not as a way of being cynical, just as a diagnostic tool. If someone consistently exits difficult situations as the victim and consistently receives comfort, leniency, or freedom from accountability as a result, that's a pattern. And patterns tell you more than stated intentions ever will. 2. Pay attention to the moments when you apologize and you're not sure why. That's usually the fingerprint. You walked into a conversation with a real concern, and somehow you're the one walking out saying sorry, feeling like you're the one who caused harm. Another thing that helped me was learning to separate someone's actual experience from their performance of it. You can have deep, genuine empathy for what someone went through without validating their right to manipulate you because of it. You do not owe anyone your sanity just because they are in pain. I hope this changes something, even slightly, in how you see it. We will talk again soon.